is InDesign, so opening up the program, that kind of thing. My applications bar looks a little bit different to what yours will, but it is down in your control panel at the bottom. So in that applications, you'll find InDesign in there. It's the pink one with the I and the D. If you can't find it in there, it will be in your self-service as well. So yours will take a really long time to open. It's just that mine was open already. So these computers, you need to remember, are really slow in comparison to how powerful the program is. So you need to be really mindful of that and don't just start clicking 7,000 buttons because it will take you a lot longer. So when you open your Adobe InDesign, yours will look a little bit different to what mine currently does. Mine looks like this because I've used mine many times before, and it's remembering the things that I last did. The reason that yours will look different is because our Macs at school get rebooted every single day, and so therefore you start as if you've never opened the program ever in your life every single day. What you need to know here though is exactly the same. So you've got a create new button and an open button. So we're going to hit create new, and then it's going to come up with this new document box here. So in the new document box, there's a lot going on in here, and it's really important that you understand what's going on here so that you don't make a mistake and then it takes a really long time to fix this mistake if you make it. So it seems like a little medial thing, but it's really important for you to fully understand what's going on. So at the top here, you'll have print, web, and mobile. Okay, so we often use print because that's what helps us to be able to picture how big something is. So if you're in print, it assumes that you want to professionally print your items. So you would use this for marketing materials, posters, anything like that, business cards, banners, bus stickers, anything like that at all. We've then got web, so this is like websites, anything on the computer, anything on the internet. It's going to make the file a little bit smaller so that it doesn't take forever to load when you're on the internet, and it's going to give you sort of the best quality for that. This one here is mobile, so it's going to give you a lot of the exact sizes for these mobile devices. So you can see you got iPhone 10, 8, 7, 6, etc. So I'm going to go back into print, and we're going to make an A4 document here. All you have to do is click on them and you'll notice that things are changing. So the A4 document is what I want. It's going to give me a width and a height here. I can also customize that if I want to, so I could go 300 by 70 if I really wanted to, and it will just stay there, and I can just click on the A4 one again to change it back. So I'm going to change the document title to learning, and then that will be the name of the file from then on. So it will be up to you to change that file. You can change it later on if you want, so if you just leave that as untitled and forget about it, when you go to save it, it will just ask you to change the name like it would on Word. So then we've got the units over here. It's really important that this is in millimeters because that's a universal thing that we understand. Don't use centimeters because centimeters, if you're out by a centimeter, you're out by a lot. So millimeters is sort of where you need to be. So making sure it's using millimeters because then we will sort of understand how big or small the item is that we're creating. We've got the orientation, so this one is our portrait and our landscape, so you can change that there and you'll notice that the width and the height swap when I do that. We're just going to go with portrait. Facing pages, I'm going to leave that ticked on and I'll show you what that means in a minute. You can put in pages, so if you know you're going to have 10 pages to your document, then you can do that here. And we're going to start at page number 1. We've got columns, so I'm going to put 2 columns in, and we've got a column gutter, which is the space between the columns. So how big is the space between the columns? So that's what that is, and I'll show you that again in a minute. Margins, I'm going to make our margins 10 millimeters, so you'll notice that when I change this top one here, they were all changing. Okay, if I wanted my margins to be different, I'd click this button here, so this is a link. Okay, it's going to unlink, and then I can just change one at a time. Bleed, I always use a minimum of a 3 millimeter bleed. Sometimes we use a 5 millimeter bleed, but you always need to have one in InDesign. It's really important, otherwise you'll end up with ugly white lines when they print. And a slug is often used to put in information that, like, to give to the printer. So we don't use a slug very often. However, I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to make a slug of 50 millimeters on the top, and I'll show you what that is. So I'm just going to hit create, and it's going to think for a while. All right, so we created our bleed, which is this red line here. Okay, you'll see that it's outside of the normal page that you can see there. So it's actually not as a part of the page. What you do is you make sure that all of your pictures go out to your bleed, and that way when the printer prints, you don't have any white lines down the side of your page because you didn't line it up properly. This guy up here, this blue one, that is our slug, so I can type in there later on, and that becomes sort of notes to my printer. This guy in the middle here, that's my column gutter, so the space between column A and column B, so that's my column gutter. And my margins are the pink ones around the outside. So the margins and the columns sort of link together, but you can see there that pink and that purple. Facing pages, so you can see here I've created my 10 pages and you can see them all in there. Facing pages, what that means is that when you are creating a document, you're creating it exactly like a magazine. So this would be the front cover up here, and then you've got the inside of the front cover and the contents page, etc., etc. If I was to turn facing pages off, you would see that it will all be singular. I'll just show you. If I take that off, they'll all go into single pages. So it really depends on what you're after. Most of the time we use facing pages because we're creating double page spreads, so that's how you create a double page spread as well, and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to turn that back on for us for now. So once we've got in our interface, there's only a few more things that I'm going to tell you in this video. So over on the side here, this is called our tool panel, this one here. Then at the top here we have our control panel, and then this side one here is our general panel. So the tool panel are the most commonly used tools as voted by Adobe, I guess. These are the things that you'll use pretty consistently. You've got your text tool, line tool, pen tool, those kinds of things, shapes in here. All of those kinds of things are on the side, colors. At the top, you'll notice the top changes depending on what I've clicked on. So you've got your overall tool from the tool panel, and then your control panel gives you extra, I guess, options for your tools. So these all up here change each one of these tools. Then this side over here is kind of like the extra stuff that they couldn't fit in. So I'll teach you how to make your own versions of this later on. But it's really important to know. So control panel over here, the tool panel over here, the control panel at the top, and the general panel over on this side.